I don't enjoy Dyson's hairstyling tools. Yes, it's out, I said it. And whilst we're here, I'm really not into GHD either. Why is that? Well, keep on watching to find out. Hello and welcome to the world of Craig. Yes, that's me, I'm Craig, and this is my channel where we get into all things hair and sometimes a little bit of beauty. So you've seen the splashy intro in the thumbnail. I'm really not a fan of Dyson hairstyling tools, and I don't love GHD either. I do have one tool that I use that is GHD, we'll get into that a bit later on, but the flat irons, they're a big no for me. But why is that? And also, let's just mention at this early juncture, if you love anything that I'm about to talk about in this video, if you're a hair professional or a consumer and you use these products and you get great results, that's fantastic. I'm sharing my opinions and I get asked a lot about what hot tools I would recommend. And I would recommend some of what we're going to talk about, but I don't enjoy using them myself. Let's get into why. So we have to start with this pricey girl, don't we? Yes, the Dyson Airwrap. Now, do I think that the physics of it is amazing? Yes. Do I think Dyson are incredible? Yes. Do I know if the extremely high price point warrants the manufacturer and the technology? I have no idea. But I'm talking from a point of view as a hair professional of 37 years experience. I have clients that use these. I tested one of these when it first came out. So, you know, and I know that it's been updated and they've got longer barrels and all of that stuff since I tested it when it first came out. But I do think it's expensive for what it is, in my opinion. And I do also think that a lot of people have them that don't really get on with them. I've got clients that love them. I've also got clients that just put them in their cupboard. The whole concept of something being luxury for it being luxury and being is just completely alien to me, and I hate the whole term luxury anyway. But anyway, that's a whole nother video. So the reality of it is, I think the Coanda effect that wraps the hair around the barrel is really, really clever. But when your hair is damp, as it has to be when you're using an Airwrap, there can be some mechanical damage that could happen. Mechanical damage is when you're styling the hair with any sort of hot tool or brush, and over a period of time, the hair will degrade. Now, we know because the Dyson's marketing skew is that it's a much lower temperature, but in this instance, temperature has nothing to do with it because it's about repeatedly stretching and pulling on the hair and working the hair. Mechanical damage. And I talk about that a lot here on my channel. The same kind of damage that you would get if you brushed the hair over and over and over. That's not to say that everybody would experience some damage. And again, if you're using it and you love it, that's fantastic. But in my opinion, for two reasons, the first one being price and the second one being that mechanical damage, if you got yourself, just a decent blow dryer that's under £100, $100, like I use in the salon, I've got one here in my home kit, so I'll show you that later on. And then some sort of tong or wand with a thermostat on it, and you rough dried your hair, maybe just drying the top very, very, speedily with a brush just to smooth it out, and then you tonged your hair or used a wand on a lower heat setting to create a movement, to create that bouncy wave like the Dyson Airwrap does, you would potentially be doing less damage. It would be quicker, much quicker, because the Airwrap is quite slow to use because you need to have it on damp hair and you need to work with it until it dries, then cool shot it, then take it out. And I know that a lot of my clients and friends that have them and use them, it takes them a long time to style the hair, although they do enjoy the results. But in my opinion, lots to fit in quickly. But in my opinion, a starter price blow dryer and a £50 tong or wand with a thermostat on it, must have a thermostat, more of that in a second, is ideal to create that sort of look. It's much cheaper, the results will last longer, voila. Yes, this is the hairdryer I use. I have about 3 of them. It's Parlux, it's Italian, they're Italian hairdryers. They no longer make them with these big nozzles, which is very annoying. I think they're less than £100, they're fantastic. They might not be for you if you have a Dyson and you love that. I do think the Dyson blow dryers are really good for home use, but again, I have used them when I used to do London Fashion Week. we all have to use them because they were sponsors of Fashion Week, and I just really don't get on with them. I don't like the noise they make. They're just not powerful enough. This is incredibly powerful. I'm going to pop it on the floor. Whilst we're talking Dyson, just to mention, they have a thing like a hot tool called an air straight. I think that is for the same reasons, for the mechanical damage. I just think that is horrendous. I was at a Sephora show. I was working at a Sephora event in Paris, check me out, last year, and they had them, they were launching them, and they were making lots of content with them. And I just can't believe that it's hot air and a hot plate, and you have to go over the hair really slowly. And I just, no, absolutely no, very expensive. And then also they have the new Supersonic R, the blow dryer that looks like a piece of pipe. I have tried one of those as well, and I just think it's absolutely ridiculous. I think the physics is really clever and the science is really clever, but I was working with a friend of mine who's a huge session stylist, and she said, have a go on that, what do you think? Maybe if you were just diffuser drying hair, but if you actually want to do a blow dry where you've got to get something smooth and sleek and straight, this is for all my hair professionals out there that are watching this. If you have used the Supersonic R, the piece of pipe, and you have one and you love it, I'd love to know in the comments, but it's just not powerful enough. Something like that down there is not super hot, it's not super powerful, but it's powerful enough. It has enough of an engine in it to get the hair smooth. And if I'm working with a dancer, a person of color, or if I'm working with someone who's got very, very textured, 4C hair, and I need to really, really smooth it out, I need that power and that energy, not necessarily heat, but I do need that in order to get a really good result. So, and just to add as well, whilst we're talking about Dyson, I have used the Shark dupe, if you like, the Shark version of the Dyson Airwrap. One of my clients has it. They bought it in so that I could help them get to grips with it. I think it's really great. I know it's probably it's probably 2/3 of the price, is it? Something like that. I don't know. But I love the fact that you can turn the top bit around so it turns into more of a blow dryer. I thought that the Coanda effect things on it were really, really good, and the other tools were great too. So if you've always wanted an Airwrap, but the price is too much, maybe have a look at the Shark ones. Again, it's a very personal thing. And in my opinion, go for a blow dryer that's, something I've used. I've had that one that's down on the floor there for about 12 years. So they really, really last, and I use them a lot. So you don't need to spend the money to get great results, but if you do and you love it, that's fine. Let's talk GHD. Oh yes. Now let's start with the positive. I have one of these, a GHD curve iron. I absolutely love it. It's part of my session kit. I use it a lot in salon. I don't use it as a conventional tong. So I don't pop the hair through the prongs and use it like a tong, like I would do classical tonging, because it's too hot. It is too hot. And that's what we're going to talk about when it comes to GHD. Oh my goodness, put thermostats on your products, please. Because the curved tong is so hot, it gives me the heebie-jeebies. So I use it like a wand. And because a lot of the aesthetic that I do, the work that I like, the finish that I like is like this, it's very soft. It's not about creating something that is, very, very compact in its curl and sits on base and is very, very classical. I do have other tongs which are Babyliss, which have thermostats on them that I use for that sort of work, or I might use a wand. I have an H2D wand and I wear a glove and I might wrap the hair around and hold it around with my glove when the heat comes through. Are there any tutorials on here where I use a wand? I think there are some. It's way, way back if you look when I was quite frightened talking to the camera. Not anymore. So I think the GHD curve is fantastic, but it's so hot. And the same thing goes for their flat irons, and that's why I don't use them, because they don't have a thermostat. My bath is making funny noises. I'm not running a bath, but it's just my plumbing. So that's why I don't use GHD flat irons. I've got one in my home kit here, but I just never ever use it. My preference is for a brand called Cloud9. I do mention them here several times on my channel. Nothing in this video is sponsored. I've not been paid to bash, GHD or Dyson or anything like that. I just think their flat irons are too hot, and I know they have a few snazzy ones now that don't get quite so hot, but I just don't know why they don't put a thermostat on them. The Cloud9 irons have thermostats on. I find I never use an iron over about 150 degrees Celsius unless I'm doing keratin treatments. Then I want the higher temperature to laminate the hair. But you know, excessive heat, we've all seen it as hair professionals, and if you're a consumer as well that has a GHD iron and you've got a lot of breakage and a lot of the hair has come off around the face frame or on those top sections, it's because the iron is too hot and it's damaging your hair. Hopefully you always use some sort of, if you're a massive GHD fan, hopefully you always use some sort of heat protection. But I would always recommend whatever hot tool you're going to use, a tong, a wand, you know, a flat iron, make sure it's got a heat thermostat on it if you're going to use it a lot. And the same thing, I know GHD have like an air straighty type thing that sounds like a jet engine taking off. And again, you know, I remember when it was launched and I remember getting the email telling me how amazing it was. And I just thought, why would you want to clamp wet hair, you know, very damp hair between two metal plates that blow hot air and also the plates heat up? I just wouldn't. So yeah. So if you're going to use any hot things on your hair, just be careful. Seeing as we're talking hot tools that I wouldn't use or really recommend, let's just talk very, very briefly about the Loreal Steam Pod. It's a big no from me. Trying to get your hair smoother, but using a hot plate and steam, no. Get yourself a reasonably priced flat iron that has a thermostat on it. That's enough about the Steam Pod. If you wanted more science on how hot tools, what effect they have on the hair, I do have a video that's all about how to protect your hair from heat, but also about how the hair reacts to heat. Because if I put it in this video after my ranting about Dyson and GHD, the video will be 30 minutes long and that would be no good, will it? I'm trying to keep my videos as short as I can, but I'm trying to give you information and sometimes that just takes a little bit of time. Very, very briefly, let's mention the Colorsonic thing from L'Oreal. No, don't be buying into that. It's a gimmick, like an electric device that's sonic, I think, or a device that you charge that's sonic, that you load hair color cartridges into, that you comb through the hair and use at home. Just no. I made short form video on it somewhere. Just a disaster. I haven't seen it taking off and becoming really popular, but I could make a whole video just on that. If you've used one of those, the Colorsonic L'Oreal thing, let me know. And that's really what this is all about. These are gimmicks, you know. A lot of these companies, and Dyson have successfully done it, but they're trying to do something like GHD are trying to get the next thing that is like the GHD iron. I still remember to this day being in the salon in Soho in the early 90s. I was a young hairdresser and this rep coming in with this GHD flat iron and saying, well, you've got to try this, you've got to try this. And I said, oh no, that'll never catch on. How wrong was I? And I did use one for several years, but then things came along that for me that were better because they had a thermostat on. I know I've really rammed that home. And that's what they're trying to do with these air straights, and there's this supersonic R and all of these things. They're trying to find the next gimmick that's going to be huge. Some of them hit big like the Airwrap and some of them don't. But if any of them work for you, then that's great. I hope this video was helpful, and remembering that sometimes you can get great results without spending an awful lot of, often you can get great results without spending an awful lot of money. If you've enjoyed this video and found it helpful, you know exactly what to do. Just a reminder that there are over 700 bits of content, long form and short form, here on my channel. And also, should we just mention, I have an Instagram. Yes, I do, which has got my hair day today on it as well. A huge thank you if you got to the end of the video. Thank you. You all take lots of care, and I'll see you all in the next one.